Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this video, this is part 2 of teaching your dog an attention or competition heel. So I'm going to call my dog into position. Sorry, going through puberty then, I suppose. Puss! And he's coming to my left leg, and a little bit of self-correction there. Now, I'm going to start with the luring with my hand just above my hip, right? So you can see how he is looking over my hip, trying to get close to me and look over towards my face. Now, you see he crept in front of me a little bit here, which is what I don't want. So I need him to come back a little, and I'm going to use the lure to do so. I can give the command again. Oh, there we go. He got into the right spot. I can give the command again if I need to for him to readjust. So we're going to lure here. Just take a step. Yes. And mark and reward. Again, from a different angle. You can continue to lure as before as well. Puss. Yes. And the big difference here is you're not rewarding like so. You're not rewarding when the dog comes in position. Yes. Like that. You're asking a bit more of the dog, and that is to continue to follow the left leg. Place. Puss. Yes. So there I did not use a lure, but you can kind of get the idea. And what's fun to do with this, you can start with back steps or walking backwards as well. Puss. Again, we taught the dog to find the left leg in the first video. Now we're teaching them to follow the left leg. Yes. And we can worry about, of course, building duration and focus later, but that's not what we're doing right here. So we just want the dog to follow the left leg for a couple, 1 or 2 steps at a time before he's getting his reward. Again, place, seats, and from a different angle, puss. Just 1 step at a time, luring if we need to. And one step, okay? And maybe 2. Yes, like so. This is a bad angle, let me do that again. Ding. Puss. So we can go with 2 steps then. Again, I'm using the lure to keep the dog focused and control where his head points. If he is coming out of position, I can always go back to lures and I can take them away and kind of see how it goes. There's nothing in my hands now. He's still looking up at me. And I take a step. Yes. Okay. And of course, mark and reward. And we'll do that again. Puss. And having the camera here is pretty handy because I can look at my dog and I can see my dog without having to look down at him. So he's staying focused on me without me having to look down at him as well. Oops. Again, we're luring 1 at a time. If you need a refresher on fading lures, what that looks like, I spilled a little. Puss. What that might look like is there's no food in my hand, but it's still in the position. You can see he's trying to nibble at my hand as if there's food in it. And of course there's none. So I can still go through the motions of that lure. Yes. And then give him his food and his reward. And once your dog gets the hang of that, then I have no lures at all, no food in my hands, and I'm not going to hold it over his face. I might even put my bait bag behind me. Puss. Yes. Okay. And again, just a couple steps at a time for this first part. One more thing with the luring, I might even take the bait bag off because of course the dog can smell it. Puss. Yes. Of course the dog can smell it. I have to, of course, pay him if I take that off. The dog can smell it even if you put it under your clothes, behind your back, and what have you. It's just marginally less obvious when it's not right in front of the dog's face like so. So again, just to recap, we're still luring to find the left leg, giving our command and luring. Puss. to position, and then we're following the left leg. One step. Okay? One step. Yes. Fuss. 2 steps. 1 step. Fuss. Yes. Okay. And a couple subtleties here. You want to make the first step kind of quick and kind of almost like not a hop or a lunge, but a bit of a fast step forward. And the reason for that is to get the dog's attention. So if I'm standing here and I've worked a sit with my dog, he's sitting beside me looking up at me, which is what we want. If I just kind of lazily take a small, slow, creeping step forward, the dog may interpret that as a sit and stay, as if I've told him to sit, I've added a stay onto the sit, and the dog comes to my side, sits. When I give the heel command, the dog may interpret that as me trying to like walk away or to leave the dog, and he may interpret that as I need to stay here while my human goes away. So that's part one of making that step quick. The other part is you need to keep the dog's focus on you, and this is where luring is really helpful for this. My dog Dean still has some issues with this. When I take my first step forward, instead of looking up at me, he's looking up at me just fine when he's sitting there, but when I take that step forward and he starts to walk, he wants to look forward and see what's ahead of him. Now, he will turn his gaze back up to me, but I want him to stay, I want him to trust me, I want him to stay focused on me when we start to walk forward. So in other words, I want him to sit and look up at me, and when I start to walk, he keeps walking with me. What I don't want, although it may be acceptable when you're first teaching your dog, is for him to look up at me, and when I walk forward, he looks down and then looks back up to me. That might be fine for like a contact heel or a casual walk beside me, but as far as a strict competition or focus heel, obviously the operative word there is focus. You need to keep your focus on me. One other thing I wanted to throw in here is that the wall can be really helpful for us. Again, obviously it's helpful because where my hand is right now, there's obviously going to be a wall which limits where the dog can move. And that is helpful once we lure the dog into position, as talked about in part 1. But it's also helpful here when we're starting to move because it keeps the dog in line. So what won't happen, or what will happen then, is that you have your body, the dog, and then the wall on the other side. So the dog stays in line with you as you're walking. What can tend to happen, and I might talk about this in a later video with reward placement, is that the dog starts to creep out a little bit in front of you. Maybe they lag a little bit behind you. Now those can be corrected with the wall, but there are some other things we can do with that. And again, I'll probably talk about this in a later video. But what the wall can help you do is when the dog's butt kind of flanges wide. So instead of the dog, if I'm the dog looking at my human, walking beside them, instead of walking straight, I'm anticipating that reward and my butt is kind of hanging out to the side and I'm walking looking like this, rather than staying square. Well, check out this guy here. Rather than staying square and in line with my person, and the wall can help with that. So let's take a look at that for a second. Right, so he's against the wall, which means his butt cannot, I can lure or not, which means his butt cannot move out because the wall is blocking it. Okay? Yes. Place. Use the wall again here and do a few more reps for you guys to see, please. Seats. First. Yes. First. Yes. By the way, this is how I taught Dean to walk backwards in a heel as well. I actually didn't teach the backwards heel until much later. But the wall was really helpful for that. You can see here that I don't necessarily have to give my dog a heel command when I'm luring every time. What I want the dog to learn is to build an association that walking beside me and focusing on me is what is going to get you the reward. And, you know, of course we can add later that the trigger to that behavior, the signal that this is the behavior I want you to do, is the verbal command. Place. Seats. Good. This time without lures. Puss. Yes. That'll do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and of course for your support of military and working dogs. If you haven't already, head over to my Patreon account, patreon.com/diligentcanine, for some extra videos, Q&As, lots of different stuff available over there. Stay tuned.